All right, so you've got your SMA 400 jigsaw right there with you and the manual ready to go for this DIY project. It's awesome. We're totally with you, ready to take a deep dive into all things jigsaw.
And since safety is so important with any power tool, let's start by really digging into those safety precautions.
I've definitely been guilty of just kind of like skimming over those safety warnings in the past. I just want to get to the project. But this manual, it's serious about safety. It goes way beyond just like the basic wear your goggles stuff.
It really does, and for good reason. Take double insulation as an example. You'll see that symbol, the two squares right on the tool. And it's not just a fancy feature. It's there because if there's ever a short circuit, which, can happen, especially with older wiring in houses, that double insulation actually prevents the outer casing of the tool from becoming live. So no zap.
Okay, now that's a visual I can definitely get behind. Nobody wants to be part of an electrical circuit. And speaking of circuits, the manual really emphasizes using the right outlets and extension cords too.
And it should. It's all connected, really.
Right.
That double insulation works together with having a proper electrical setup because an overloaded extension cord or even just using the wrong type of outlet can actually mess with that safety net and put you at risk.
So it's like this whole chain of safety measures, and each one is just as important as the others.
Exactly. And here's another link in that chain. The manual talks a lot about workpiece support and body position. It's really easy to just get so focused on that cut line that you forget about, how you're standing or if that piece of wood is actually secure.
And I'm guessing that can be a recipe for disaster,
Yeah.
especially with a tool as powerful as a jigsaw.
Absolutely. A sudden bind, a slip of the hand, and that powerful motor can create a very dangerous situation in just a split second. That's why having a stable and well-supported workpiece, along with, a comfortable and balanced stance is so crucial.
Okay, wow. So we really dug deep on the safety stuff.
Mm.
And I have to say, I'm feeling a lot more prepared. But, there's just this like thrill that comes with using a tool like this. It's more than just like cutting. It's about understanding how it moves, how it reacts, and how to just make it sing.
Got it. It's all about mastering the tool and all those little subtle adjustments that can really make a huge difference.
I've always been kind of fascinated by those different cutting actions, like orbital versus straight line. I'm not sure I really get what's actually happening when I'm like switching between them.
Okay, so think about it like this. Imagine you have a sander. You're familiar with those, right? And it's moving back and forth.
Right.
Now imagine combining that motion with a vertical up and down movement. That's kind of like what orbital action is. It gives the jigsaw this more aggressive cutting action, almost like a little vibration.
Oh, okay. So it's like a combo of motions. That makes sense. So when would I use orbital and when would I want to stick with like that straight line?
Well, the trick is understanding how that motion affects the cut. So orbital is really great when you're using thicker materials and you want a faster, more aggressive cut. But if you're working with something delicate like veneer or maybe some thin plywood, straight line action is definitely the way to go because it gives you a lot more control, especially when you're cutting curves or fine details.
Oh, that's good to know. What about the speed dial? Because the manual talks a lot about matching the speed to the material, but it seems like there's more to it than just going as fast as possible.
You're right. It's not always about speed. Sometimes it's about having precision. Imagine you're trying to cut a delicate curve in a thin piece of plywood. You don't want to rush that cut right. You need to let that saw do its thing slowly and smoothly.
So sometimes slower is better? That seems kind of counterintuitive.
Exactly. Think of it this way. A slower speed. It's like when you savor each bite of a delicious meal, but a higher speed that's like just devouring everything in sight.
Uh-huh. Okay. I totally get it.
Uh,
I've definitely been guilty of just going for that faster cut. And now I realize that probably causes more problems than it solves.
For sure. It can lead to burning, chipping, and it can even shorten the life of your blade. And hey, remember that chart in the manual? The one that shows the best speed and cutting action for different materials? That's like your secret weapon for getting the best results.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely bookmarking that chart. So good to know what to use for hardwoods versus softwoods or even different thicknesses. It's like having a personal guide right there.
That's the beauty of a good manual. It's like having a seasoned pro right there beside you sharing all their knowledge. Which reminds me, we have to talk about the bevel cutting feature, because the manual makes it seem like a total game changer. But I'll be honest, I'm a little intimidated by it.
Me too, but honestly, the manual explains it really well. Did you know that adjustable base on the jigsaw is like the key to making those angled cuts? So instead of cutting straight up and down, you can actually cut at a precise angle.
Exactly. Think picture frames or some decorative molding. You could even use it to add a really unique angle on a piece of furniture. The possibilities are endless.
That's so cool. And the manual even shows how to use those graduations on the base to help you set that perfect angle. It actually seems pretty straightforward.
It is. This manual is such a great resource. It's not just for learning the basics, but it can actually help you expand your skills and try more complex projects.
I know this whole deep dive has really opened up my eyes to so many things I never even considered before. I feel so much more confident about using my jigsaw now, and I'm honestly excited to try out some of this new knowledge.
That's what we like to hear. Feeling confident and ready to tackle those DIY projects with more skill and precision, that's the goal.
As we're going through this manual, I'm realizing there's like a real art to writing a good manual.
Yeah.
This one, it doesn't just tell you what to do. It's like it anticipates problems and then gives you really smart solutions.
Totally. It's like having a conversation with someone who's been woodworking forever. They've seen it, made all the mistakes, and now they're sharing those lessons with you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have to admit, when I first looked at this manual, I kind of skimmed over the parts about the anti-splintering device and the cover plate. But now that we're talking about them, I'm amazed by how such small things can make such a big difference.
Oh, they're huge, especially if you want that professional looking result. Imagine putting all this effort into a project and then it's ruined by splintering or scratches.
Ugh, the worst. So for our listener, can we break those down? So the anti-splintering device that goes on the base of the jigsaw, right? And it basically stops the wood from splintering when the blade cuts.
Exactly. It helps the most on the upstroke when splintering usually happens. And then you've got the cover plate, which is like a shield between the base of the jigsaw and your workpiece. So it prevents those scratches and helps the saw glide smoothly.
It's amazing how much thought goes into these little things,
Yeah.
but they make such a difference. And speaking of clever tricks, we have to talk about plunge cutting. I'll admit I've always been a little scared to try it, but this manual makes it seem kind of doable.
It is once you get the hang of it.
Yeah.
So instead of cutting from the edge of the wood, plunge cutting lets you start a cut right in the middle of it.
Oh, wow. So I could make cutouts or intricate shapes without having to start from the edge.
Exactly. It opens up so many possibilities.
Mm.
And you know what makes it even easier? The pictures in the manual. Seeing those step-by-step illustrations really helps you understand how to do it.
I totally agree. It's one thing to read about it, but seeing it visually just makes it click. It's almost like having a teacher right there with you.
That's a great way to put it. And, think about it. This one manual has taught you about safety, explained all those jigsaw features, and now you even know how to try more advanced stuff like plunge cutting.
It's true. This deep dive has been awesome. It's like we've unlocked the secrets of this tool, and now we could do so much more with our DIY projects.
And that's what it's all about, right? Learning new things, trying new things, and realizing that even a simple tool like a jigsaw can be incredibly versatile.
So to everyone listening out there, if you're like me and maybe thought jigsaws were kind of basic, remember this. Every tool has its hidden potential. Don't be afraid to try new things, experiment, and most importantly, have fun. Who knows what amazing things you'll create.